Welcome to Silent Night Archives, where history slows down and the world grows quiet. Tonight we drift back 5,000 years into an ordinary morning in ancient Mesopotamia. Not a morning of kings or battles or great discoveries, but a morning so simple and uneventful that it might have passed unnoticed by everyone who lived it. Yet now it becomes a gentle doorway for you, a way to fall asleep while walking through a day that once belonged to someone long forgotten. A day shaped by dust and sunlight and small routines. A day that begins before the sun rises. You wake inside a mud brick home, the air still cool from the night. The kind of coolness that settles over clay walls and woven mats. The kind that disappears quickly once the sun climbs. You lie on a simple sleeping mat made from reeds and fibers. Nothing soft by modern standards, yet familiar and comforting to the people who used it every night. Your blanket is a piece of woven wool, coarse but warm, carrying the faint earthy smell of the sheep it once came from. Around you the room is dim, only the faintest hint of dawn touching the edges of the doorway. The house is small, built from sun-dried bricks shaped by hand, each one carrying the imprint of fingers that pressed wet clay into wooden molds. The walls are thick, meant to keep out heat during the day and hold warmth during the night. The floor beneath you is hard-packed earth, smoothed over time by footsteps, by children playing, by countless mornings just like this one. You can feel the texture of it under your mat, uneven in places, cool in others. A quiet reminder of how close life was to the ground. Outside, the world is beginning to stir, not loudly, but with the soft sounds of a village waking. A distant bleat from a goat, the gentle rustle of reeds near the river, the faint splash of water as someone begins their early chores. You hear a low murmur of voices, neighbors greeting one another in the half-light, their words carried softly through the still air. Inside the house, your family begins to wake as well. Someone shifts on their mat, someone stretches, someone quietly rises to begin the first tasks of the day. The air smells of clay, of dust, of the faint lingering scent of last night's small cooking fire. A fire that burned low in a clay hearth near the doorway, its ashes now cool and gray. Waiting to be cleared, you breathe in slowly, letting the ancient quiet settle around you, letting the simplicity of the moment wrap itself gently around your thoughts. Nothing urgent waits for you, nothing traumatic, only the ordinary rhythm of a day that will unfold step by step, just as it did for countless people 5,000 years ago. A faint breeze moves through the doorway, carrying the smell of the river, a mix of water, mud, and reeds. The Euphrates lies not far from your home, its slow current shaping every part of life here. The river is the reason the village exists, the reason crops grow, the reason boats drift past with baskets of grain and bundles of reeds. Even now, before sunrise, you can hear the soft lap of water against the bank, a steady sound that has echoed through this land for thousands of years. Someone in the house lights a small oil lamp, its flame flickering gently, casting warm light across the walls. The lamp is made of clay, shaped by hand, filled with oil pressed from seeds, a simple wick resting inside. The glow reveals the woven baskets stacked neatly in a corner, baskets filled with grain, with dried dates, with small tools. You see a clay jar of water, its surface cool, its shape rounded and smooth, made by a potter who spent long hours turning wet clay into something useful, something that would hold water for a family just like yours. You sit up slowly, feeling the stiffness of sleep in your limbs, feeling the coolness of the morning air against your skin. You stretch, listening to the quiet creak of your mat. You look around the room, noticing the familiar details, the wooden beam overhead, the small niche in the wall where a few treasured items rest, a piece of carved bone, a small clay figurine, a smooth stone worn by years of handling. Objects that hold meaning, not because they are grand, but because they belong to everyday life. The first light of dawn begins to spill into the house, soft and pale, touching the floor, touching the baskets, touching the faces of your family as they rise. The sky outside shifts from deep blue to gentle gray, then to the faintest hint of gold. Birds begin to call from the rooftops, their voices light and repetitive, weaving into the morning like threads in a woven cloth. The village slowly brightens, each home catching the new light in its own way. Each doorway glowing softly, you step outside. The ground cool beneath your feet, the air fresh, carrying the scent of damp earth. The village is quiet but awake. People move slowly, stretching, greeting one another, preparing for the long day ahead. The houses around you are simple, built from the same mud bricks. Their roofs flat, their walls slightly uneven, shaped by hands rather than machines. You see smoke rising from a few hearths, thin and pale, drifting upward into the brightening sky. The street is narrow, made of packed earth, worn smooth by countless footsteps. You walk along it, feeling the texture beneath your feet, noticing small details. A stray reed lying near a doorway, a piece of broken pottery half buried in the dust, a footprint left by a child who ran through the street yesterday. The village feels quiet, peaceful, ordinary, exactly as it should on a day like this. A day without festivals, without ceremonies, without anything unusual to mark it. You pause near the doorway, watching the sun rise slowly over the horizon, its light spreading across the fields beyond the village, touching the tops of the barley, turning the river into a ribbon of gold. The warmth begins to grow, gentle at first, then stronger. Promising the heat that will come later, you breathe in deeply, letting the morning settle into your senses, letting the ancient world unfold around you with calm simplicity. Inside the house, someone begins to prepare for the day, gathering tools, checking baskets, clearing the hearth. The small sounds drift through the doorway. Blending with the quiet of the village, you step back inside. Feeling the shift from outdoor light to indoor shadow, the lamp still flickers softly, casting warm shapes on the walls. Your family moves slowly, each person knowing their tasks, each person following the same rhythm they have known since childhood. You sit near the hearth, watching as someone stirs the ashes, revealing faint traces of last night's fire. The clay hearth is simple, shaped by hand, its edges worn smooth by years of use. A few pieces of firewood rest nearby, dry and light, gathered from the riverbank or traded from someone who traveled farther. The smell of ash mixes with the smell of clay, creating a scent that feels ancient, familiar, grounding. The morning continues to brighten, the light growing stronger, the air warming slightly. You hear more voices outside, neighbors greeting one another, animals stirring, children beginning to wake. The village slowly shifts from quiet to active. Though never hurried, never rushed, life here moves at a steady pace, shaped by the sun, by the seasons, by the needs of the land. You feel yourself settling into that pace, letting it guide your thoughts, letting it soften the edges of your mind. You look around the house again, noticing the details that make it feel lived in. The woven mats stacked neatly against the wall, the clay jars arranged carefully, the small wooden tools resting near the doorway. Each item has a purpose. Each item is part of the quiet machinery of daily life. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is unnecessary. Everything has been shaped by hand, by time, by need. The first real warmth of the day begins to enter the house, touching your skin, touching the floor, touching the baskets. The light grows golden, soft, gentle. You feel yourself waking fully now, not with urgency, but with calm acceptance, knowing that the day ahead will be filled with small tasks, with simple routines, with moments of quiet and moments of work. Nothing dramatic, nothing extraordinary. Just the steady rhythm of life 5,000 years ago. You rise from your mat, stretching again. Feeling the stiffness ease, you walk toward the doorway, stepping into the growing light. The village is awake now. Though still peaceful, still slow. You hear the soft cluck of chickens, the gentle bleat of goats, the murmur of neighbors speaking quietly, the distant splash of someone drawing water from the river. The world feels ancient and familiar, shaped by countless mornings just like this one. You stand there for a moment, letting the sunlight warm your face, letting the quiet settle around you, letting the simplicity of the moment sink into your thoughts. This is the beginning of an ordinary day. A day without stories, without records, without anything that would have been remembered. Yet now, in this quiet moment, it becomes a gentle path for you. A way to drift deeper into rest, deeper into calm, deeper into the ancient world. The morning continues. Slow and steady, the sun rising higher, the village waking fully. And you prepare to step into the first tasks of the day, knowing that everything ahead will be simple, repetitive, ordinary, and quietly beautiful in its own way. The morning light grows stronger as you step back into the small mud brick home, the warmth of the rising sun gently touching the clay walls, the air still cool enough to feel pleasant against your skin. Inside the house, your family begins the quiet rhythm of preparing breakfast, a rhythm repeated every day, familiar and steady, shaped by the needs of life 5,000 years ago. Nothing rushed, nothing dramatic, only the slow unfolding of ordinary tasks. Someone kneels beside a large stone set into the floor, a grinding stone worn smooth by years of use. Beside it rests a smaller stone, rounded and heavy, shaped perfectly for the hand. Grain is poured onto the surface, barley mostly, though sometimes wheat. The grains scatter across the stone with a soft rustling sound, and the grinding begins, slow and steady. The smaller stone pushed back and forth, crushing the grain into coarse flour. The movement is repetitive, almost meditative, a task that must be done every morning, because bread is the heart of the day's meals. You watch the flour gather in small piles, pale and dusty, carrying the faint earthy smell of the fields where the barley grew. The grinding takes time, far more time than you might expect, and it requires strength, patience, and rhythm. The sound of stone against stone fills the room, a gentle scraping that blends with the quiet murmur of voices, with the soft cluck of a chicken outside, with the distant bleat of a goat. The house feels alive with small sounds, each one part of the morning routine. Nearby, someone begins to prepare the hearth, clearing the cool ashes from last night's fire, gathering small pieces of wood and dried reeds. Arranging them carefully, the hearth is simple, a shallow clay structure built into the floor near the doorway, its edges rounded and smooth, shaped by hands long ago. The smell of ash rises softly as it is brushed aside. Mixing with the scent of clay and grain, the fire will be lit soon, but not yet. First, the flour must be ready, and the dough must be shaped. A clay jar of water sits nearby, its surface cool, its shape rounded, made by a potter who spent long hours shaping wet clay into something useful. Someone lifts the jar carefully, pouring a small amount of water into a bowl of flour. The mixture begins to come together, sticky at first, then slowly forming into a soft dough. Hands knead it gently, pressing and folding. The dough warm from the touch, the bowl resting on a woven mat to keep it steady. The smell of fresh grain rising softly into the air. You sit near the doorway, watching the morning unfold, feeling the warmth of the sun on your face, hearing the quiet rhythm of the household. The grinding continues. The kneading continues. The fire is prepared. Everything moving slowly, calmly, without hurry. This is how breakfast begins, not with quick meals or packaged food, but with work, with patience, with the steady effort of hands shaping grain into bread, a process that has changed little over thousands of years. Outside, the village grows busier. Neighbors greet one another. Animals stir. Children begin to wander sleepily through the streets. The smell of smoke rises from other hearths, thin and pale, drifting upward into the brightening sky. You hear the soft splash of someone drawing water from the river, the gentle thud of a wooden door closing, the faint laughter of children chasing one another near a cluster of houses. The world feels peaceful, ordinary. Alive with small routines inside, the dough is ready. Shaped into small, flat rounds, simple and practical. Meant to cook quickly on the hearth, someone lights the fire, blowing gently on the small flame until it grows. The smell of burning reeds fills the room. Sharp at first, then warm and comforting, the fire crackles softly, sending flickers of light across the clay walls. The dough is placed near the heat, not directly in the flames, but close enough to bake slowly, the edges crisping, the surface browning, the smell of fresh bread filling the air. While the bread cooks, other chores begin. Someone gathers a few dates from a woven basket, the dates dark and sticky, sweet and rich, harvested from trees near the river, their flavor a small luxury in a world where most food is simple and practical. Someone pours water from the clay jar into small cups made of baked clay, the water cool and refreshing, drawn from the river earlier, filtered through settling jars to remove the heavier sediment. Though not perfectly clear, it is clean enough for daily use. You help with small tasks, brushing dust from the floor, shaking out a woven mat, checking the baskets to see what needs to be refilled. The baskets are made from reeds, woven tightly, strong enough to hold grain, dates, tools, or anything else the household needs. Their texture rough beneath your fingers, their shapes slightly uneven, each one unique, each one shaped by hand. You feel the fibers, the small imperfections, the faint smell of dried reeds, all part of the ordinary world of the home. A few chickens wander near the doorway, pecking at the ground, their soft clucks blending with the morning sounds. Someone scatters a handful of grain for them, and they gather quickly, their movements quick and jerky, their feathers dusty from the dry air. A goat bleats from outside, tugging at its tether, waiting to be led to a patch of grass near the river. Someone steps out to check on it, patting its side gently, murmuring softly, the goat's warm breath rising into the cool morning air. Children begin to wake fully now, rubbing their eyes, stretching, wandering toward the hearth to see what is cooking. Their hair messy from sleep, their movements slow and curious. They sit near the fire, watching the bread bake, waiting for the first warm piece, their quiet chatter filling the room, soft and playful, adding warmth to the morning. You watch them, feeling the gentle simplicity of the moment, the way children bring life to even the most ordinary tasks. The bread is ready, warm and fragrant. Someone lifts it carefully, placing it on a woven mat to cool slightly. The surface golden, the edges crisp, the smell comforting. Familiar, ancient. Breakfast is simple. Bread, dates, water. Sometimes a bit of cheese or a small portion of leftover stew from the night before. But today it is only bread and dates, enough to begin the day, enough to give strength for the work ahead. You sit with your family, tearing pieces of bread, sharing dates, drinking cool water, the meal quiet and calm. As you eat, you notice the small details of the home, the clay walls slightly uneven, the wooden beam overhead darkened by years of smoke, the small niche in the wall holding a few treasured items, a carved bone, a smooth stone, a tiny clay figurine, objects that hold meaning not because they are valuable, but because they belong to the rhythm of daily life. The woven mats stacked neatly, the baskets arranged carefully, the tools resting near the doorway, everything in its place, everything shaped by need and time. Breakfast ends slowly, without hurry. People rise one by one. Beginning the first chores of the day, someone carries the clay jar outside to refill it with fresh water. Walking toward the river with steady steps, the jar heavy but manageable. Someone else begins to clean the hearth, brushing away the ashes, preparing it for later use. Children help in small ways, gathering stray reeds, carrying light baskets, chasing chickens away from the doorway, their laughter soft and bright in the morning air. You step outside again, the sun now fully risen, the warmth growing stronger, the village alive with movement. People carrying tools, leading animals, preparing for the long day ahead. The smell of smoke drifts through the air. Mixing with the scent of damp earth and river water, you hear the soft hum of voices, the clatter of pottery, the splash of water, the gentle thud of footsteps on packed earth. Everything feels ordinary, familiar, part of the daily rhythm that shapes life here. Someone begins to sweep the area outside the house, using a simple broom made from bundled reeds. The sweeping slow and steady, sending small clouds of dust into the air. The dust catching the sunlight, turning golden for a moment before settling again. You help gather a few tools, checking them for wear. A wooden hoe, a small knife, a woven basket, each one essential, each one shaped by hand, each one carrying the marks of long use. The smoothness of handles worn by countless fingers. The morning chores continue. Slow and steady, someone feeds the goats. Someone checks the chickens. Someone gathers reeds for later weaving. Someone inspects the roof to make sure the clay coating is still intact. The tasks are small, but necessary. Each one part of keeping the household functioning, part of the quiet machinery of daily life. You feel yourself settling into the rhythm, letting the simplicity guide your thoughts, letting the ancient world wrap gently around you. The sun climbs higher, the warmth growing, the village fully awake now, people moving with purpose. Though never hurried, never rushed, the day ahead will be long, filled with work, filled with small tasks, filled with moments of quiet and moments of effort. Breakfast has given you strength, and the first chores have begun to shape the morning, everything unfolding slowly, peacefully, just as it did for countless people 5,000 years ago. The morning has settled into its gentle rhythm, the warmth of the rising sun touching the clay walls of your home, the air shifting from cool to mild, carrying the sense of grain, smoke, and damp earth. You step toward the doorway, feeling the familiar texture of the packed floor beneath your feet. And as you cross into the sunlight, the village opens before you, quiet yet alive, simple yet full of small movements that shape the day. The street outside your home is narrow, made of packed earth smoothed by countless footsteps, the surface uneven in places, marked by the faint impressions of sandals, by the tracks of goats, by the small scuffs left by children running and playing. The mud brick houses rise on either side, their walls warm in the sunlight, their shapes slightly irregular, each one built by hand, each one carrying the marks of the people who shaped it. The clay mixed with straw, pressed into molds, dried under the same sun that warms you now. You walk slowly, letting the morning unfold around you. Neighbors step out of their homes, stretching, greeting one another with quiet voices, their movements calm, unhurried, shaped by the steady rhythm of daily life. A woman carries a woven basket filled with grain, the basket made from reeds gathered near the river, its texture rough, its shape slightly uneven. A man leads a goat toward a patch of grass, the goat bleating softly, tugging at its tether, its hooves tapping lightly against the ground. children wander through the street. Some still sleepy, others already full of energy. They chase one another, their laughter soft and bright. They carry small clay toys, simple shapes molded by hand, or pieces of reed woven into tiny figures. They pause to watch a potter working near his home, his hands shaping wet clay on a simple wheel. The wheel turned by foot, slow and steady, the clay rising into a smooth vessel, the potter's fingers leaving gentle lines along its surface. The smell of wet clay drifting into the air. You pass a workshop where someone is repairing a basket. The reeds spread out beside them, their hands weaving each strand carefully, pulling it tight, shaping the basket with patience. The sound of reeds brushing against one another soft and rhythmic. Nearby, another person smooths the surface of a clay jar, using a small piece of wood to refine its shape. The jar still damp, cool to the touch, waiting to be fired in a simple kiln made from clay and brick. The kiln dark inside, smelling faintly of smoke and earth. The village feels alive with small tasks, each one essential, each one part of the quiet machinery of daily life. You walk past a man sharpening a small bronze blade, the metal glinting in the sunlight, the sound of stone against metal steady and soft. Bronze is precious, difficult to obtain, often traded from far away. So tools are cared for carefully, repaired when possible, used until they can no longer be shaped or sharpened. Nothing wasted, nothing taken for granted. You pause near a group of women who are preparing reeds for weaving, their hands moving with practiced ease, splitting the reeds, smoothing them, sorting them by length and thickness, the reeds piled neatly beside them, their pale color bright in the sunlight, the smell of dried plant fibers rising softly. Weaving is a constant task. Baskets, mats, ropes, even parts of roofs depend on it. The work repetitive but necessary. A quiet rhythm that fills many hours of the day. Farther along the street, you see a potter's yard, filled with vessels of all shapes and sizes, some finished, some drying, some still damp and waiting to be shaped further. The ground here is scattered with bits of broken pottery, shards that crunch softly underfoot, each piece a reminder of how fragile clay can be, how easily a vessel can crack or break, yet also how essential pottery is for storing grain, water, oil, and countless other things that keep the household functioning. You walk toward the edge of the village, where the mud brick houses give way to open spaces, small gardens, and the beginning of the fields. But before reaching the fields, you pass the irrigation canal, a narrow channel of water drawn from the river, its surface shimmering in the sunlight, the water moving slowly, carrying bits of reed and small insects. The canal is lined with clay and stone, shaped by many hands, maintained constantly, because without it, the fields would dry, and the crops would fail. People gather near the canal, checking the flow of water, clearing small blockages, adjusting the simple gates made from wood and reeds. The sound of water trickling through the channel is soft and steady, blending with the murmur of voices, the rustle of reeds, with the distant calls of birds. You kneel beside the canal, dipping your fingers into the cool water, feeling the smoothness of the current, the faint grit of sediment. The water is life here, shaping every part of the day, every part of the year. You rise again, continuing your walk, passing a fisherman preparing his nets, the nets woven from plant fibers, their knots tight and carefully made. He checks each section, repairing small tears, smoothing the fibers, preparing for the moment when he will cast the net into the river, hoping for fish that will feed his family, fish that will be dried or cooked or traded. The fisherman's hands are rough, shaped by years of work, his movements slow and steady, guided by experience rather than haste. Nearby, a small group of men work on a boat, a simple wooden vessel shaped from planks and reeds, the wood darkened by water and sun. The reeds woven tightly to reinforce the sides. The boat rests on the ground. Tilted slightly, its underside exposed. They inspect it carefully, checking for cracks, smoothing rough edges, preparing it for another day on the river. The smell of wood and water rises softly, mixing with the scent of clay and earth. The boat is essential for trade, for fishing, for travel. Even if most journeys are short and practical, you walk farther into the village, noticing the small details that shape daily life. A woman carrying a clay jar balanced carefully on her hip. The jar filled with water, drawn earlier from the river. A man repairing a simple wooden frame used for drying reeds. A child gathering small stones to play a quiet game near the doorway of their home. The stones smooth and warm from the sun, the child arranging them in patterns. Their concentration deep, their movements gentle. The village is not large, but it feels full of life. Full of small tasks, full of quiet routines. Each person moving with purpose, though never hurried, never rushed. The pace of life shaped by the sun, by the seasons, by the needs of the land. You feel yourself settling into that pace, letting it guide your steps, letting it soften your thoughts, letting the ancient world wrap gently around you. You pass a small open area where a few people gather to talk. Their voices low, their gestures calm. They discuss the weather, the condition of the fields, the upcoming tasks. Nothing dramatic, nothing urgent, just the steady exchange of information that keeps the village functioning. You listen for a moment, hearing the soft cadence of their words, the gentle rise and fall of their voices, the quiet familiarity of people who have known one another for years. A potter carries a newly shaped vessel toward a shaded area, placing it carefully on a mat to dry. The vessel smooth and pale, its surface still damp. The potter checks it for imperfections, smoothing a small ridge with his thumb, adjusting the shape slightly. The vessel will dry slowly, then be fired in the kiln, then used for storing grain or water or oil. Each step slow, each step essential, each step part of the quiet rhythm of daily life. You walk past a small group of children playing near a wall. Their game simple, involving stones and lines drawn in the dust. They laugh softly, their voices bright. Their movements quick, they pause to greet you, then return to their game. The dust rising gently as they move, catching the sunlight, turning golden for a moment before settling again. The children's presence adds warmth to the morning, a reminder that even in a world shaped by work, there is room for play, for curiosity, for small joys. The sun climbs higher, the warmth growing, the shadows shortening, the village fully awake now, each person engaged in their tasks, each movement part of the quiet machinery of daily life. You continue walking, feeling the texture of the packed earth beneath your feet, hearing the soft hum of voices, the clatter of pottery, the rustle of reeds, the splash of water, the distant calls of animals, everything blending into a gentle tapestry of sound and movement. You pause near the edge of the village, looking back at the mud brick houses, the narrow streets, the people moving through their routines, the small workshops, the pottery yards, the reed mats drying in the sun, the boats resting near the riverbank, the irrigation canal winding through the fields. Everything ordinary, everything familiar, everything shaped by the steady rhythm of life 5,000 years ago. You breathe in slowly, letting the ancient quiet settle around you, letting the simplicity of the moment soften your thoughts. The morning continues, slow and steady, the sun rising higher. The village alive with small tasks, and you prepare to step toward the fields and the water, knowing that the work ahead will be simple, repetitive, ordinary, and quietly beautiful in its own way. The sun has climbed higher now, its warmth spreading across the village, touching the mud brick walls, brightening the narrow streets. and guiding people toward the work that waits beyond the homes. You walk slowly toward the fields, feeling the shift in the air, the faint coolness of morning giving way to the steady warmth of the day. The sky pale and wide above you, the river glimmering softly in the distance, its surface catching the sunlight like a long ribbon of gold. The path toward the fields is worn smooth by countless footsteps, the earth packed tightly, scattered with small stones, the edges lined with reeds and patches of dry grass. You pass neighbors carrying tools, simple wooden hoes, baskets woven from reeds, small jars of water, their movements calm and steady, shaped by years of repetition, by the quiet understanding that the fields require attention every day. Even on days when nothing special happens, even on days when the work feels slow and ordinary. As you walk, the smell of damp earth grows stronger, the scent rising from the irrigation canal that runs alongside the path, the canal narrow and shallow, its water drawn carefully from the river. Guided through channels shaped by hand, the water moves slowly, carrying bits of reed, small insects, and the faint grit of sediment. The sound of the current soft and steady, blending with the rustle of reeds, with the distant calls of birds, with the quiet hum of the village behind you. You pause near the canal, watching a man adjust a small gate made from wood and bundled reeds, the gate simple but effective, controlling the flow of water into a side channel that leads toward the barley fields. He lifts the gate slightly, allowing more water to pass, the current shifting, the surface rippling gently. He nods to you, his face calm, his hands rough from years of work. Water is life here, and managing it is one of the most important tasks of the day. Even if it feels ordinary, even if it feels repetitive, you continue walking. The fields opening before you, wide stretches of barley swaying gently in the breeze, the stalks pale green and golden, their tips heavy with grain. The fields stretch toward the horizon, shaped by the river, shaped by the seasons, shaped by the hands of countless people who have tended them year after year. The earth beneath the barley is dark and rich, softened by water, hardened by sun, carrying the marks of hoes and footsteps, carrying the memory of many harvests. You step into the field, feeling the texture of the soil beneath your feet, slightly damp near the canal, dry farther away. The barley rustles softly as you move, brushing against your legs, the sound gentle, repetitive, calming. You join a small group of people already working, their movements slow and steady. They check the plants, pulling away stray weeds, smoothing the soil around the stalks, adjusting small channels of water to ensure the barley receives enough moisture. The work is simple, but essential, part of the quiet rhythm of life. Someone hands you a wooden hoe, its handle smooth from years of use, its blade worn but still strong. You begin to work the soil, pressing the blade into the earth, turning it gently, loosening it around the plants, the movement repetitive, the sound soft, the earth giving way beneath the blade, the smell of soil rising into the air, rich and earthy. You feel the warmth of the sun on your back, the slight breeze brushing your face, the quiet murmur of voices around you, the field alive with small sounds, small movements, small tasks. You pause for a moment, wiping your forehead, feeling the warmth of the day settling into your skin. The barley sways gently, the river glimmers in the distance. The canal flows steadily, everything moving at a slow, ancient pace, shaped by the needs of the land, shaped by the rhythm of the seasons, shaped by the quiet persistence of people who work not for excitement, but for survival, for routine, for the steady unfolding of ordinary days nearby. A man checks the small channels that guide water through the field, using a simple wooden tool to clear away bits of reed and clumps of earth. The water shifts, flowing more smoothly, the plants near the channel brightening slightly, as the moisture reaches their roots. He nods with satisfaction, then moves on to the next channel. His movements calm, practiced, shaped by years of tending the fields. Water must be guided carefully. Too much can drown the plants. Too little can leave them dry, the balance delicate. The work constant. You walk toward the edge of the field, where a small group of people gather near the riverbank, preparing nets for fishing, the river wide and slow, its surface shimmering in the sunlight, the smell of water and mud rising softly. The reeds along the bank rustling in the breeze. The fishermen check their nets, smoothing the fibers, repairing small tears, preparing for the moment when they will cast the nets into the water, hoping for fish that will feed their families, fish that will be dried or cooked or traded you. Kneel near the river, dipping your hands into the cool water, feeling the smoothness of the current, the faint grate of sediment, the water refreshing against your skin. The river is calm today, its surface broken only by the occasional ripple from a fish or a drifting reed. You watch as a fisherman steps into a small boat, a simple vessel made from wood and reeds, its sides reinforced with woven fibers. The boat rocks gently as he settles inside. Then he pushes away from the bank, the boat gliding slowly into the river. The fisherman casts his net with a practiced motion, the net spreading wide, falling gently onto the surface of the water, the fibers sinking slowly, the river swallowing the net with quiet ease. He waits, the boat drifting, the river moving steadily beneath him, the sun warming his back, the breeze brushing his face. Fishing is a slow task, requiring patience, requiring calm, requiring acceptance of the river's rhythm. Some days the nets come back full, some days nearly empty. Today will be whatever the river decides you. Rise again, walking along the riverbank, feeling the soft mud beneath your feet, hearing the gentle lap of water against the shore, seeing the reeds sway in the breeze. The river shapes everything here, the fields, the canals, the boats, the fish, the daily routines. Without it, the village could not exist. The people depend on its water, its fish, its fertile banks, its steady presence. Even on ordinary days like this one, the river is a quiet companion, always there, always moving, always shaping life. You walk back toward the fields, passing a group of people, carrying baskets filled with reeds. The reeds gathered for weaving, for repairing roofs, for making mats. Their pale color bright in the sunlight, their texture rough, their smell faintly sweet. The people move slowly, balancing the baskets carefully, their footsteps steady, their voices quiet. The reeds will be sorted later, dried, shaped, woven, turned into objects that will be used every day, objects that will wear out, objects that will be repaired, objects that will be replaced. The sun climbs higher, the warmth growing stronger, the shadows shortening, the fields bright and wide, the barley swaying gently, the river glimmering, the canal flowing, the people working, everything moving at a slow, steady pace. You continue tending the soil, loosening it around the plants, smoothing it near the channels, checking the moisture, the work repetitive, calming, grounding, the kind of work that shapes the day without demanding attention, the kind of work that fills the hours quietly. You pause again, wiping your hands, feeling the roughness of the wooden hoe, the warmth of the sun, the softness of the breeze, the quiet murmur of voices around you. The field feels peaceful, ordinary, ancient, shaped by countless days just like this one. Days when nothing dramatic happens. Days when the work is simple. Days when the rhythm of life unfolds gently. You breathe in slowly, letting the scent of earth and water settle into your senses. Letting the calm of the moment soften your thoughts. You walk toward the canal again, checking the flow of water, watching it move steadily through the channel, the surface shimmering, the currents gentle, the water carrying bits of reed and small insects. The canal essential for the fields, essential for the crops, essential for the village. You kneel beside it, touching the water, feeling its coolness, its smoothness, its quiet strength. The canal is simple, shaped by hand, maintained constantly. Yet it holds the power to feed the village, to sustain life, to shape the day the sun continues to rise. The warmth growing, the fields alive with small movements. Small tasks, small sounds. You stand for a moment, looking across the barley, across the river, across the village in the distance. Everything ordinary, everything familiar, everything shaped by the steady rhythm of life 5,000 years ago. You breathe in slowly, letting the ancient quiet settle around you, letting the simplicity of the moment guide your thoughts, letting the day unfold gently. The work in the fields continues, slow and steady, the sun rising higher, the river moving quietly, the canal flowing, and you prepare to step into the middle of the day, knowing that everything ahead will be simple, repetitive, ordinary, and quietly beautiful in its own way. The sun has climbed high now, its warmth spreading across the fields, across the riverbank, across the mud brick homes of the village. The morning's coolness has faded, replaced by a steady heat that settles gently over everything, not harsh yet, but strong enough to slow the pace of work. You feel the warmth on your skin, the brightness in your eyes, the quiet heaviness that comes with midday in this ancient land, a heaviness that encourages rest, calm, and small pauses between tasks. You walk slowly back toward the village, leaving the barley fields behind for a moment, the path warm beneath your feet, the air carrying the scent of earth and water, the river glimmering softly in the distance, the canal flowing steadily beside you, its surface shimmering under the midday sun, the reeds rustling gently, their pale green tips swaying in the faint breeze, everything moving slowly now, everything settling into the quiet rhythm of the middle of the day. As you reach the edge of the village, you see people resting in patches of shade, sitting beneath the overhangs of their homes, leaning against cool clay walls, gathering under simple awnings made from woven reeds. The shade offers relief from the sun, the air slightly cooler, the ground softer, the sounds quieter. You join them, sitting near a wall, feeling the coolness of the clay against your back, letting the warmth of the day settle gently around you. Someone passes by carrying a small clay jar filled with water, the jar cool to the touch, its surface smooth, its shape rounded. They offer you a drink, and you take a slow sip, the water refreshing, tasting faintly of the river, faintly of clay, faintly of the settling jars where it rested overnight. You feel the coolness spread through your body, easing the warmth of the day, easing the quiet fatigue that comes from working in the fields nearby. A few people share a simple midday meal, nothing elaborate, nothing heavy, just small pieces of bread baked earlier, a handful of dates, perhaps a small portion of dried fish or cheese, the bread warm from the sun, the dates sticky and sweet, the fish salty, the cheese soft and mild. You join them, tearing a piece of bread, eating slowly, feeling the familiar textures, the familiar flavors, the familiar comfort of food that has sustained people here for countless generations. The conversation is quiet, gentle, unhurried. People speak about the fields, about the water levels in the canal, about small repairs that need to be done later, about children who ran too far toward the riverbank, about goats that wandered near the pottery yard. Nothing dramatic, nothing urgent, just the steady exchange of small details that shape the day, the kind of conversation that fills the middle of ordinary days, the kind of conversation that drifts softly through the warm air. You lean back against the wall, feeling the shade settle around you, hearing the soft murmur of voices, the distant cluck of chickens, the faint bleat of goats, the quiet rustle of reeds near the canal. The village feels calm now, slowed by the heat, softened by the midday light. People rest, breathe, wait for the sun to shift. Wait for the moment when the warmth eases and the afternoon tasks can begin again. Man sits nearby repairing a wooden tool, a simple hoe used in the fields. Its handle worn smooth, its blade slightly cracked. He works slowly, carefully, using a small piece of bronze to smooth the edge, using a strip of reed fiber to reinforce the handle. His movement steady, his focus calm. Repairing tools is a constant task, necessary to keep the fields productive, necessary to keep the household functioning, necessary even on days when the heat slows everything down. A woman sits beside him weaving a small mat, her hands moving with practiced ease, pulling reeds into place, tightening each strand, shaping the mat slowly. The texture rough, the pattern simple. The mat will be used for sitting, for drying grain, for placing pottery, for countless small tasks. Weaving is repetitive, quiet, calming, the kind of work that fits perfectly into the slow middle of the day. When the sun is too strong for heavy labor, when the shade invites gentle tasks, children gather near a doorway, playing quietly with small stones, arranging them in patterns, drawing lines in the dust, their laughter soft, their movements slow. Even they feel the weight of the midday heat, their energy softened, their games quieter. They sit in the shade, leaning against the wall, watching adults work, asking small questions, sharing small stories, their presence adding warmth to the moment, adding life to the quiet rhythm of the day. You watch them for a while, feeling the calm settle deeper, feeling the ancient quiet wrap gently around you. The middle of the day is not a time for excitement, not a time for great tasks. It is a time for rest, for small repairs, for simple meals, for quiet conversation, for waiting, for letting the sun move slowly across the sky, for letting the body recover from the morning's work, for preparing gently for the afternoon. A few people walk toward the river, carrying small jars, perhaps to refill them with water, perhaps to cool their hands in the current, perhaps simply to enjoy the breeze that drifts along the riverbank. You follow them, walking slowly, feeling the warmth of the sun on your shoulders, the path soft beneath your feet, the air carrying the scent of water and mud, the river shimmering in the distance, its surface bright and calm. When you reach the riverbank, you sit on a patch of cool earth, shaded by a cluster of reeds. The river moves steadily, its current gentle, its surface broken only by the occasional ripple from a fish or a drifting reed. You dip your hands into the water, feeling the coolness, the smoothness, the faint grit of sediment. The river offers relief from the heat, a quiet moment of calm, a quiet moment of connection to the land that sustains the village. A fisherman rests nearby, his boat pulled onto the shore, his nets spread out to dry. He sits quietly, eating a small piece of bread, watching the river, waiting for the afternoon when he will cast his nets again. Fishing is a slow task, shaped by patience, shaped by the rhythm of the river, shaped by the quiet acceptance that some days bring more fish than others. He nods to you, his face calm, his movements relaxed, the river's quiet presence settling around him. You sit for a while, letting the breeze brush your face, letting the sound of water soothe your thoughts, letting the warmth of the day soften your body. The middle of the day feels timeless, ancient, familiar, shaped by countless days just like this one. Days when people rested in the shade, repaired tools, shared simple meals, waited for the sun to move, waited for the moment when the afternoon could begin. Eventually you rise, walking slowly back toward the village. The sun still high, the warmth still steady, but the quiet rest has eased your fatigue. The shade has cooled your skin, the water has refreshed your senses. You feel ready for the small tasks that will fill the afternoon. Tasks that are simple, repetitive, ordinary, yet essential. Tasks that shape the rhythm of life. Tasks that keep the household functioning. Tasks that connect you to the ancient world in gentle, peaceful ways. The village comes into view again. The mud brick homes warm in the sunlight. The narrow streets quiet. The people still resting. Still talking, still repairing tools. Still weaving, still waiting. The middle of the day continues. Slow and steady, shaped by heat, shaped by routine, shaped by the quiet acceptance that boredom is part of life, that repetition is part of life, that ordinary moments are the threads that hold the day together. You step into the shade once more, feeling the coolness settle around you, hearing the soft murmur of voices, seeing the gentle movements of people preparing for the afternoon, everything calm, everything slow, everything shaped by the ancient rhythm of an ordinary day 5,000 years ago. The sun has begun its slow descent, though the warmth still lingers across the village. The air thick with the quiet heaviness of the afternoon. People rise from their shaded resting places, stretching their limbs, brushing dust from their clothes, preparing to step back into the rhythm of small tasks that fill the long hours between midday and evening. Tasks that are not grand, not dramatic, but essential, steady, and woven into the fabric of daily life. You walk slowly through the village, feeling the warmth of the packed earth beneath your feet, the air carrying the scent of clay, reeds, and distant river water. The mud brick houses glow softly in the afternoon light, their surfaces warm, their shadows long. The narrow streets quiet, but alive with gentle movement. Neighbors stepping out of their homes. Children wandering toward small chores. Animals shifting in the shade. Everything settling into the calm rhythm of the afternoon near your home. Someone begins to repair a piece of pottery. A small jar cracked along its side. The potter sits on a woven mat, holding the jar carefully, examining the damage. Pottery breaks easily, and repairing it is a common task. The potter mixes a small amount of clay, smoothing it along the crack, pressing gently, shaping the repair with practiced fingers. The clay cool and damp, the jar warm from the sun. The potter's movements slow and steady, the repair simple but necessary. Beside the potter, a woman sorts reeds for weaving, the reeds piled neatly, their pale color bright in the sunlight. She separates them by length, by thickness, by flexibility. Her hands moving with quiet precision. Weaving requires preparation, and the afternoon is the perfect time for such tasks. She smooths each reed, brushing away small imperfections, laying them in tidy bundles, the smell of dried plant fibers rising softly into the warm air. You walk farther, passing a man repairing the roof of his home. The roof made from layers of reeds and clay, shaped carefully to keep out rain and heat. He climbs a small wooden ladder, checking the clay coating, smoothing cracks, adding fresh clay where needed. His hands strong, his movements deliberate, the clay warm beneath his fingers, the roof essential for comfort, for protection, for the quiet rhythm of life. And maintaining it is a constant task nearby. A woman grinds grain again, even though it was done in the morning. Grain must be prepared throughout the day, because bread is needed for evening meals, for tomorrow's breakfast, for trade, for feeding animals. She kneels beside the grinding stone, pushing the smaller stone back and forth, the sound soft and repetitive, the movement steady, the grain slowly turning into coarse flour, the smell of barley rising gently. Earthy and familiar children help with small chores, carrying light baskets, gathering stray reeds, fetching small jars of water, their movements slower now, softened by the afternoon warmth. They chatter quietly, their voices gentle, their laughter subdued. They follow adults from task to task, learning by watching, learning by doing, learning the rhythm of life It will shape their own days when they grow older. Their presence adding warmth to the afternoon, adding life to the quiet tasks you. Pause near a small workshop where a man shapes a wooden tool. Perhaps a handle for a hoe or a frame for a basket. The wood rough at first, then slowly smoothed by his knife. The shavings falling softly to the ground, the smell of fresh wood rising into the air. He checks the shape, adjusts the angle, tests the strength, his movements calm, patient, shaped by years of experience. The tool will be used tomorrow, or perhaps later today, part of the endless cycle of work farther along the street. A woman repairs a woven basket, pulling loose reeds into place, tightening the weave, smoothing rough edges. Baskets are used for everything, for grain, for dates, for tools, for carrying water jars, and they wear out quickly. Repairing them is a constant task. Her hands move with practiced ease, the reeds rustling softly, the basket slowly regaining its strength, its shape, its usefulness. You walk toward the riverbank again, where a few people gather to wash tools. The water cool and refreshing, the river moving steadily, its surface shimmering in the afternoon light. They dip wooden handles into the water, brushing away dirt, smoothing rough patches, checking for cracks, the sound of water gentle, the smell of mud rising softly, the river offering relief from the heat, offering a quiet place for small tasks. A fisherman sits nearby repairing his nets, the fibers stretched across the ground, the knots checked carefully, the small tiers mended with patience, the nets essential for catching fish. And repairing them is a slow, repetitive task, perfect for the afternoon. He works quietly, his hands moving with steady rhythm, the fibers rough beneath his fingers, the net slowly regaining its strength, its shape, its readiness for the next cast into the river. You sit beside him for a moment, feeling the coolness of the river breeze, hearing the soft rustle of reeds, watching the gentle movement of water. The afternoon feels calm, peaceful, shaped by small tasks, shaped by quiet effort, shaped by the steady unfolding of ordinary life. Nothing urgent, nothing dramatic, just the slow rhythm of work that keeps the village functioning. You rise again, walking back toward the village, passing a woman carrying a clay jar filled with water, the jar heavy but manageable. She balances it carefully, her steps steady. Water must be fetched often, for cooking, for drinking, for cleaning, for mixing clay, for countless small tasks. The jar cool against her hip, the water sloshing gently inside. The afternoon sun warming the clay surface near your home. Someone begins to prepare ingredients for the evening meal, sorting grain, checking dates, gathering small pieces of dried fish or cheese. The tasks simple, repetitive, familiar. The smell of grain rising softly. The texture of dates sticky beneath their fingers. The clay jars cool to the touch. The woven baskets rough and sturdy. Everything part of the quiet rhythm of preparing food. You help with small tasks, brushing dust from the floor, shaking out a woven mat, checking the hearth, gathering a few pieces of wood and dried reeds for the evening fire. The hearth cool now, waiting for the warmth of flame later. The clay surface smooth, the ashes from earlier brushed aside. The fire will be lit again soon, part of the steady cycle of cooking, eating, cleaning. Resting, a man walks past carrying a small bundle of reeds, perhaps for weaving, perhaps for repairing a roof, perhaps for making rope. The reeds rustling softly, their pale color bright in the afternoon light. He nods to you, his face calm, his movement steady. The afternoon filled with small tasks, each one necessary, each one part of the quiet machinery of daily life. You pause near a group of women who sit together weaving, their hands moving with practiced ease, their voices soft, their conversation gentle. They weave mats, baskets, ropes, small objects that will be used throughout the village. Their work repetitive, calming, shaped by the rhythm of the afternoon. The reeds rustling softly, the patterns forming slowly, the mats growing inch by inch. The sun continues its slow descent, the warmth still steady but beginning to soften. The shadows lengthening, the village alive with small movements. Small sounds, small tasks. You walk through the narrow streets, feeling the texture of the packed earth beneath your feet, hearing the soft murmur of voices, seeing the gentle movements of people working. Everything ordinary, everything familiar, everything shaped by the ancient rhythm of life. You pause for a moment, letting the quiet settle around you, letting the simplicity of the afternoon soften your thoughts, letting the ancient world wrap gently around you. The small tasks continue, slow and steady, shaping the hours, shaping the day, shaping the quiet beauty of an ordinary afternoon 5,000 years ago. The sun begins its slow descent toward the horizon, the warmth of the day softening, the light turning gentle and golden, stretching long shadows across the village, the air cooling just enough to bring relief after the steady heat of the afternoon. You walk through the narrow streets, feeling the shift in the world around you, the quiet transformation that comes every evening, the calm settling over the mud brick homes, the softening of voices, the slowing of footsteps, the gentle preparation for night. People begin returning from the fields, their movements unhurried, their tools carried loosely in their hands, the wooden hoes worn smooth, the baskets filled with reeds or grain, the clay jars empty now, ready to be refilled tomorrow. The workers greet one another softly, sharing small comments about the day, about the water in the canal, about the barley, about the heat. Nothing dramatic, nothing urgent, just the quiet exchange that marks the end of work. Children run ahead of their families, their energy returning as the heat fades, their laughter drifting through the streets. They chase one another around corners, stopping occasionally to pick up a small stone or examine a piece of broken pottery. Their voices bright, their movements lively, their presence adding warmth to the evening, adding life to the gentle rhythm of the village. You walk toward your home, the mud brick walls glowing softly in the golden light, the doorway cool and familiar. Inside, the air carries the faint scent of clay, grain, and the lingering traces of the afternoon's small tasks. Someone begins to prepare the hearth for the evening meal, gathering pieces of wood and dried reeds, arranging them carefully, the hearth cool now, waiting for the warmth of flame, the clay surface smooth beneath their hands. The fire is lit with gentle care, the small flame catching the reeds, growing slowly, sending a warm glow across the room. The smell of burning reeds rising softly, mixing with the scent of clay and earth. The fire crackles quietly, its light flickering against the walls, casting gentle shadows. The hearth becomes the center of the evening, a place for warmth, for cooking, for gathering, for quiet conversation. Someone begins to prepare the evening meal, sorting grain, checking dates, gathering small pieces of dried fish or cheese. The tasks familiar, repeated every day. The grain poured into a clay bowl, the dates arranged neatly, the fish softened in a small amount of water, the cheese cut into small pieces, the ingredients simple, practical, shaped by the land, shaped by the river, shaped by the rhythm of ancient life. You help with small tasks, brushing dust from the floor, shaking out a woven mat, checking the baskets, gathering a few tools that need to be stored for the night. The woven baskets rough beneath your fingers, the clay jars cool, the mats soft and familiar. Everything part of the quiet machinery of daily life. Everything shaped by hands. Everything carrying the marks of time outside. The village shifts into its evening rhythm. Neighbors gather near doorways, speaking softly, sharing small stories, discussing the day's work, the condition of the fields, the behavior of animals, the small events that shape the afternoon. their voices gentle, their gestures calm, their conversations unhurried. The evening a time for connection, for rest, for the quiet weaving of community. Few goats wander near the homes, bleating softly, waiting to be fed. Someone brings them a handful of grain, their movements slow, their breath warm in the cooling air. Chickens gather near the hearths, clucking quietly, settling into their familiar spots for the night. The animals part of the rhythm of the village, part of the evening's gentle tasks, part of the quiet unfolding of daily life. The evening meal begins to cook, the grain simmering in a small clay pot, the smell rising softly, warm and comforting. The dates arranged nearby, the fish or cheese prepared, the fire crackling gently, the light flickering across the walls, the room growing warmer, the air filled with the scent of food, the quiet anticipation of a simple meal shared with family. You sit near the hearth, watching the fire, feeling its warmth on your face, hearing its soft crackle. The evening feels calm, peaceful, shaped by the slow rhythm of ancient life, shaped by the gentle transition from day to night, shaped by the quiet acceptance that nothing extraordinary will happen, that the beauty of the moment lies in its simplicity, in its ordinariness, in its steady unfolding. Children gather near the hearth, their faces lit by the warm glow, their voices soft, their movements gentle. They watch the food cook, asking small questions, sharing small stories, their presence adding warmth to the evening, adding life to the quiet rhythm of the home. They sit close to one another, leaning against the clay wall, their eyes bright in the firelight. The meal is ready, simple and warm, the grain soft, the dates sweet, the fish or cheese mild. You share it with your family, tearing pieces of bread baked earlier, dipping them into the grain, eating slowly, savoring the familiar flavors, the familiar textures, the familiar comfort of food that has sustained people here for countless generations. The conversation quiet, gentle, shaped by the calm of the evening outside. The sky shifts from gold to soft blue, then to deeper shades, the first stars appearing faintly, the air cooling further, the village growing quieter, the animals settling, the voices softening, the evening deepening into night. People finish their meals, clean their hearths, store their tools, prepare for the darkness that will soon settle fully over the land. You step outside for a moment, feeling the cool air on your skin, seeing the soft glow of oil lamps in neighboring homes, hearing the quiet murmur of voices, the gentle rustle of reeds near the river, the distant splash of water. The village feels peaceful, ancient, familiar, shaped by countless evenings just like this one. Evenings when people cooked simple meals, shared quiet conversations, watched the sunset, and prepared for the night. You return inside, the fire still glowing softly, the room warm, the air filled with the lingering scent of food, the woven mats arranged neatly, the clay jars stored carefully, the baskets placed in their familiar spots, everything ready for the night, everything shaped by the steady rhythm of daily life, everything calm, everything ordinary, everything quietly beautiful. The evening continues, slow and gentle, the fire crackling softly, the voices quiet, the tasks finished, the village settling into the calm of night, and you prepare to step into the darkness that comes before sleep, knowing that everything ahead will be simple, repetitive, ordinary, and peaceful in its own way. The sun sinks lower toward the horizon, its golden light fading into softer tones, the warmth of the day slipping away, replaced by a gentle coolness that settles over the village. You step outside for a moment, feeling the shift in the air, the quiet transformation that comes every evening, the sky turning from gold to pale blue, then to deeper shades, the first stars appearing faintly above the mud brick rooftops, the world preparing for darkness in a way that feels ancient, familiar, can slow people finish their evening tasks. Storing tools, feeding animals, brushing dust from their doorways. The narrow streets grow quieter, the voices softer, the movements slower. The village easing into night with calm acceptance, without hurry, without the sharp division that modern lights create. Darkness arrives gradually here, gently, like a soft blanket settling over the land, giving everyone time to adjust, time to prepare, time to breathe inside your home. The fire in the hearth has burned low, its glow warm and steady, casting soft flickering light across the clay walls. Someone lights a small oil lamp, its flame delicate, its glow gentle. The lamp made from clay, shaped by hand, filled with oil pressed from seeds. The wick resting inside, the flame dances quietly, illuminating the room with a warm, golden softness, not bright, not sharp, just enough to see. Just enough to feel comfort. The darkness outside deepens. The sky turning a deep blue, then nearly black. The stars growing brighter, scattered across the sky like tiny grains of light. The moon rising slowly, its pale glow touching the rooftops. The river shimmering faintly in the distance. The reeds rustling softly in the evening breeze. The village settling into a quiet that feels ancient. A quiet shaped by the absence of electricity. By the presence of natural night, you sit near the hearth, feeling the warmth of the fading fire, hearing the soft crackle of embers, watching the gentle flicker of the oil lamp. The room feels calm, peaceful, shaped by shadows, shaped by soft light, shaped by the slow rhythm of night. The clay walls glow faintly. The woven mats cast long shadows. The baskets appear as gentle shapes in the dimness. Everything softened, everything quiet, everything part of the ancient atmosphere of evening. Children gather near the lamp, their faces lit by its warm glow. Their voices soft, their movements gentle. They sit close together, leaning against the clay wall, listening to the quiet sounds of the night, the distant bleat of a goat, the soft cluck of a chicken settling into its roost, the faint rustle of reeds near the river, the occasional murmur of neighbors speaking softly outside. The world feels smaller now, wrapped in darkness, wrapped in calm. Someone begins to tell a simple story, not a grand tale of kings or battles, but a quiet story about the river, about a day spent fishing, about a goat that wandered too far, about a child who found a smooth stone near the canal. The story gentle, familiar, shaped by everyday life. The kind of story told countless times. The kind of story that drifts softly through the warm air. Soothing, calming, perfect for the quiet of night. You listen, feeling the calm settle deeper, feeling the ancient quiet wrap around you. The story blending with the soft crackle of the fire, with the gentle flicker of the lamp, with the distant sounds of the village. The darkness outside deep and complete. The night sky vast, the stars bright, the moon steady. The world shaped by natural rhythms, by the slow unfolding of time. By the absence of artificial light, the lamp flickers, casting shifting shadows across the room. The shadows long and soft, moving gently with the flame. The fire glows faintly, its embers warm, its light steady. The room feels safe, enclosed, familiar, shaped by clay, shaped by woven mats, shaped by the quiet presence of family. The darkness outside held at bay by the small circle of light inside. A circle that feels ancient, comforting, timeless. You step outside for a moment, letting your eyes adjust to the darkness. The village quiet now, the narrow streets dim, the mud brick homes dark, except for the faint glow of oil lamps inside. The sky vast above you, filled with stars, the air cool, carrying the scent of earth and water, the river shimmering faintly, its surface reflecting the moonlight, the reeds rustling softly, the animals quiet, the world peaceful, shaped by night. You walk a few steps along the street, hearing the soft murmur of neighbors speaking quietly near their doorways. Their voices gentle, their conversations simple, shaped by the calm of evening, shaped by the darkness, shaped by the slow rhythm of ancient life. They sit on woven mats, leaning against the cool clay walls, watching the sky, listening to the night, sharing small stories, small thoughts, small moments. You pause near a doorway, feeling the coolness of the clay wall, hearing the distant splash of water from the river, seeing the faint glow of an oil lamp inside a nearby home. The light warm and soft, the shadows long, the atmosphere calm. The village wrapped in darkness, wrapped in quiet, wrapped in the ancient rhythm of night. You breathe in slowly, letting the calm settle deeper, letting the darkness soothe your thoughts. You return inside, the lamp still glowing softly, the fire nearly out, the room warm and dim, the air filled with the faint scent of clay, grain and smoke, the woven mats arranged neatly, the baskets resting in their familiar places, the clay jars cool to the touch, everything softened by the gentle light, everything quiet, everything ready for the slow transition towards sleep. Someone begins to tidy the hearth, brushing away small bits of ash, arranging the remaining pieces of wood, preparing it for tomorrow. The movements slow, quiet, careful, the sound soft, the atmosphere calm. The lamp flickers gently, casting warm light across the room. The shadows shifting, the night deepening, the world settling into stillness. Children yawn softly, their eyes heavy, their movements slow. They curl up on woven mats, pulling wool blankets over themselves, the blankets warm, carrying the faint earthy scent of sheep. The mats firm but familiar, shaped by reeds, shaped by hands, shaped by time. They settle into comfortable positions, their breathing soft, their presence adding warmth to the room. You sit for a moment longer, watching the lamp, feeling the calm of the night, hearing the quiet sounds of the village, the distant rustle of reeds, the soft murmur of voices fading, the gentle movement of animals settling, the world peaceful, ancient, familiar, shaped by darkness, shaped by quiet, shaped by the slow rhythm of life. 5,000 years ago, the lamp flickers again. Its flame small but steady, its glow warm, its presence comforting. The darkness outside deep and complete, the night sky vast, the stars bright, the moon steady, the village quiet, the world calm. And you prepare to step into the final part of the day, the slow transition towards sleep, knowing that everything ahead will be gentle, peaceful, and shaped by the ancient rhythm of an ordinary night. The oil lamp glows softly in the dimness of the room, its flame small but steady, casting warm light across the clay walls, the woven mats, the baskets resting in their familiar places. The fire in the hearth has faded to gentle embers, their glow faint and comforting, the air cool now, carrying the quiet sense of clay, grain, smoke, and the lingering traces of the evening meal. The village outside wrapped in darkness, wrapped in calm, wrapped in the ancient rhythm of night. You sit for a moment near the hearth, feeling the warmth of the embers, hearing the soft crackle of the last pieces of wood, watching the gentle flicker of the oil lamp. The room feels peaceful, shaped by shadows, shaped by soft light, shaped by the slow unfolding of night. The clay walls glow faintly. The baskets appear as gentle shapes in the dimness. The mats cast long shadows. Everything softened, everything quiet. Everything ready for rest. Children lie on their woven mats, wrapped in wool blankets. Their breathing soft, their movements slow, their eyes heavy with sleep, the blankets warm, carrying the faint earthy scent of sheep. The mats firm but familiar, shaped by reeds, shaped by hands, shaped by time. They settle into comfortable positions, curling close to one another, their presence adding warmth to the room, adding life to the quiet rhythm of night. Someone tidies the last few items, placing tools near the doorway, smoothing a mat, adjusting a basket, checking the clay jars to ensure they are sealed for the night. The movements slow, gentle, careful, the sound soft, the atmosphere calm. The oil lamp flickers, casting shifting shadows across the room. The night deepening, the world settling into stillness. The tasks finished. The day complete. You step outside for a moment, letting your eyes adjust to the darkness. The village quiet now, the narrow streets dim, the mud brick homes dark except for the faint glow of oil lamps inside. The sky vast above you, filled with stars, the air cool, carrying the scent of earth and water. The river shimmering faintly in the distance, its surface reflecting the moonlight. The reeds rustling softly in the night breeze. The animals quiet, the world peaceful, shaped by darkness, shaped by quiet, shaped by the slow rhythm of ancient life. You walk a few steps along the street, hearing the soft murmur of distant voices. Neighbors finishing their conversations, their words gentle, their tones calm. Shaped by the quiet of night, shaped by the absence of bright light, shaped by the slow unfolding of time. They sit near their doorways, leaning against cool clay walls, watching the sky, listening to the night, sharing small stories, small thoughts, small moments. Their presence adding warmth to the darkness. A goat bleats softly from a nearby enclosure, shifting in its resting place. Its breath warm in the cool air. A chicken clucks quietly, settling deeper into its roost. The animals part of the rhythm of night, part of the quiet unfolding of daily life, part of the ancient world that surrounds you. Their sounds gentle, familiar, soothing, blending with the rustle of reeds, with the distant splash of water, with the soft hum of insects in the fields. You pause near the edge of the village, looking toward the river, the moonlight shimmering on its surface, the current moving slowly, the water dark and calm, the reeds swaying gently, the air cool and fresh, carrying the scent of mud and water. The river feels timeless now, ancient, steady, a quiet companion to the village, shaping life, shaping the day, shaping the night, its presence soothing, its movement gentle, its sound soft and steady. You breathe in slowly, letting the calm settle deeper, letting the darkness soothe your thoughts, letting the ancient quiet wrap around you. The night feels vast, peaceful, familiar, shaped by countless nights just like this one. Nights when people finished their chores, shared simple meals, watched the sunset, listened to quiet stories, and settled into sleep. Nights that passed without record, without drama, without anything extraordinary, yet shaped the rhythm of life for generations. You return inside, the oil lamp still glowing softly, the room warm and dim, the air filled with the faint scent of clay and smoke, the woven mats arranged neatly, the baskets resting in their familiar places, the clay jars cool to the touch, everything softened by the gentle light, everything quiet, everything ready for sleep. Someone lowers the wick of the lamp slightly, dimming the flame, letting the shadows grow longer, letting the room settle deeper into night. You lie down on your woven mat, feeling its firm texture beneath you, pulling a wool blanket over your body, a blanket warm, carrying the faint earthy scent of sheep, the mat familiar, shaped by reeds, shaped by hands, shaped by time. You settle into a comfortable position, feeling the coolness of the clay wall nearby, hearing the soft breathing of your family, the gentle crackle of the last ember in the hearth, the faint rustle of reeds outside, the distant hum of insects, the quiet murmur of the river. The oil lamp flickers again, its flame small but steady, its glow warm, its presence comforting. The shadows shift gently across the room, the darkness outside deep and complete, the night sky vast, The stars bright, the moon steady, the village quiet, the world calm. Shaped by the ancient rhythm of night, shaped by the slow unfolding of time, shaped by the quiet acceptance that nothing extraordinary will happen, that the beauty of the moment lies in its simplicity, in its ordinariness, in its gentle stillness. You close your eyes, feeling the calm settle deeper, feeling the ancient quiet wrap around you, hearing the soft sounds of the village, the distant bleat of a goat, the gentle cluck of a chicken, the rustle of reeds, the hum of insects, the murmur of the river, the quiet breathing of your family, the world peaceful, ancient, familiar, shaped by countless nights just like this one. Nights that passed without record, without drama, without anything extraordinary, yet shaped the rhythm of life for generations. You breathe slowly, letting your thoughts drift, letting the calm settle deeper, letting the ancient world fade gently into sleep. The oil lamp flickers one last time, its flame small, its glow warm, then slowly dims as someone lowers the wick further. The room dark now, the shadows deep, the night complete, the village quiet, the world peaceful, and you drift into rest. Carried by the gentle rhythm of an ordinary night 5,000 years ago,